have been living in is divided once again over political views. Today our leader is facing the same resounding issue that we faced millennia ago, and he's been doing everything he possibly can to make these changes. Some of those changes are good or bad, depending on which side of the political party you are currently residing in, showing us as proud American citizens that our leader has taken charge while starting a division amongst ourselves. This is due to the separate thoughts of the people, since we can no longer come together. Today as a society, you're either part of the political left wing, where according to the right, a safe place is needed, therapy because your presidential pick was not needed, and starting to cause riots so destructively that the president must hire a separate security team on top of him, his Secret Service, to protect his family. Or according to the left, the right wing is gun-toting, God-loving white supremacists that are apparently bigots, racists, and haters towards others who do not believe in anything else other than Christianity. This is what we are showing the next generation. That judging others is perfectly okay, and whatever their political view on is what we are judging them accordingly. There are countless, and I mean countless, videos on mainstream media where if you voted towards the right, you were getting a nice hospital visit because they would go and personally attack them either at their places of work, out in the streets, or anywhere. It's gotten to the point where it's so bad that it's even been confirmed that the state of California has now decided that they want to secede because they refuse to follow what orders Trump's have gave. Like I said before, these things are starting to sound strangely familiar with another leader who has currently faced the same situation. On April 12th, in 1861, the first shots towards Fort Sumter started one of America's most casualty and bloodiest wars upon American soil. This was also started by two opposing sides on the relations of slave ownership and other problems that were starting to build up due to the progression of technological advances that were coming up. See, at the time, they believed that the North wanted to go and progress so far that they don't need to have manual labor anymore. They wanted to use machines. They wanted to do what we are currently doing now, as we have technological wonders, such as New York City. They wanted to advance so far that people wanted to go and use machinery instead of human labor. The South wanted to keep it as farmlands, keep it to where it's all natural because it was working for them. It all worked. So during the election for 1860 was between Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas. The senator from Illinois, Abe, refused to give into the old ways where slaves were forced to do hard work and manual labor. See, what the senators didn't know is that they were about to inherit a problem from the presiding presidency, James Buchanan, which was the only president from Pennsylvania that ultimately fueled their campaign towards the presidency. So as the story goes on from that point to the point where President Lincoln's inaugural address was made on March 4th, 1861, he stated, speaking directly to the southern states, he reaffirmed that he has no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with the institution of slavery in the United States where it exists. I believe that I have no lawful right to do so, and have no inclination to do so either. To then later end his address with this statement, I am loath to close. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies, though through passion must be strained that it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone. All over this broad land yet we swell from the course of the Union when touched again, as surely will be by the better angels of our nature. He said this with a heavy heart, knowing that secession was just an inevitability. As Christians today, our role model should be that of our faith, and it should be a spiritual one. The reason why, because we must look for a spiritual role model, is that so we can live our lives accordingly to the path that has already been predetermined for us. Today on our Christian walk, we must keep close to the path that's been determined for us. Who better than as a role model than the man who has walked through this path so purely? See, today in our lives, we have so many earthly objects that can deter us from that path. But if we focus on what Jesus did during his lifetime, only then can we see the true nature of our own paths as we walk with him. See, as we now turn to Gospel of Luke, chapter 17, to look at what our faith and duty is to the Father as we go down this road called life. In verse 3 of the latter half, it states, "If your brother or sister, ones that we are currently spiritually connected to through the Holy Spirit, sins against you, rebuke them. And if they repent, forgive them, even if they sin against you 7 times in a day, and 7 times come back to you saying, I repent. You must forgive them." See, what he's stating there is that no matter who or what does you wrong against you, if they are sorry, and say that they are sorry, you must forgive them. But then comes the question of, well, what about those who don't believe that they are sorry? We still must forgive them. We still forgive them, but we should not follow their ways. In James chapter 3, verses 10 through 12, it states that out of the same mouth comes praise and cursing. This shouldn't be. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? Our brothers and sisters, can a fig tree bear olives or a grapevine bear figs? Neither can salt springs produce fresh water. See, as preachers or even as Christians ourselves, we cannot say that lying is wrong and turn around to do so, even though we just said it was completely wrong. This is what we, as a society, call hypocrisy. Even today, this word plagues our Christian community because some of us go out there and preach what we heard or what we think, and then later it can turn into a misconception because we either do not know fully or we just misunderstood. Granted, yes, lying does come around because the truth hurts. So in return, we sugarcoat the answer, beat around the bush, trying to avoid the actual truth, or we just lie in general so that we can spare whoever the truth is. As a society, or as human beings ourselves, this dishonors us. And that showing others around us that it's okay to bend the rules. And God has made this as a commandment for a reason. These are rules for us as a reason. And if God made these rules to be broken, then why do we call them commandments? See, Christ died on the cross for us to show us the way, to show us the inevitable truth that we all see. In his hand, he has stretched out for us to show us the truth, but we keep refusing to take it because we refuse to be led. Because we decided that we all want to be independent, to go our own ways, to show the world that we can do it on our own. In response to that, I feel like that's great. I'm glad that you all want to be independent. But that comes to the point where if you want to do something on your own, it doesn't go exactly according to your plan. It doesn't go exactly the way you want. There's sometimes that it will come to the point where you're doing something and something slightly goes wrong, and then you start blaming others for something that's not even their fault. See, I believe that it would be physically and spiritually impossible. Yes, it comes to the question, but what about our free will? Does that mean our free will doesn't exist anymore? To answer that question, we turn to John chapter 8, verses 49. In verse 49, he says that, "I am not possessed by a demon, but I honor my Father, but you dishonor me. I am not to seek glory for myself, but there is one who seeks it, and he is the judge. Very truly I tell you, whoever obeys my word will never see death." See, in the latter half of that, it says, whoever obeys my word, his word, not man's word, not your neighbor's, especially not what society or what our community thinks, but his word, Christ's word, is the absolute truth that we must follow. It is uncorruptible and unchangeable. Forever will it be written on stone or spoken off the tongue of his followers shall it be. We cannot tarnish his truth. But as we can tell today, society is doing its best, and you can see anywhere you look, to rid itself of that said truth. Schools currently today have banned Christianity from being taught unless other religions have equal time of being taught. Reading from the Bible has also been removed from public schools so that others are not offended. And even to the point where, when I was currently attending public school, there were some that refused to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Yes, there were even some that refused to even stand and recite it. But when you go up to them and ask them, why aren't you standing? The common answers that they have given us is, we don't have to. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, or the better one yet, or, oh, the flag stands for slavery, just like the Confederate flag did. And I rebuke to that is, how low have you gone in your life that your Holy Spirit has gone to the point where its morals have been cited by someone else? See, if those sacrifices made so long ago on our behalf, our life as we currently live will change as we currently know it. We could be under a regime from Russia, or we could be under the Third Reich from World War II if Germany had won, if our grandfathers or their fathers hadn't stood up and said enough was enough. This is the exact reason why some of our communities who have put their faith in society, or even for the means, or even in the media for that matter, to tell them what they can or cannot believe in. So this is why I believe that our country has started to fall into chaos. So now as we turn into Ephesians chapter 4, verses 19, this is where we can see Paul writing a letter to the church in Ephesus. There he's telling the church that they have all been indulged to the sensitivity. They have been giving themselves over to the sensuality, to indulge themselves in every kind of impurity, while being consumed by greed. This isn't what Christ wanted us, or how Christ wanted us to live by his example, because we are too focused on the valuables of this world. Again, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. We cannot be chasing after these materials, objects, items, or whatever you guys want to call it, of this world, or especially what society thinks that we should have. We cannot follow that because it can deter us from the path. It can deter us from what we seek. It can deter us from the truth that we all want. With today, especially in the mainstream media, they have been deterring the truth, deterring us from what they really want us to know. They've been deterring us from our political views, making us side with one side of the party or the other, causing us to perform these rights, causing us to divide ourselves so that they can either turn a profit against us or just watch our country fall into chaos. This is where Satan has been in our lives, working his way behind the scenes, even though we say that we're trying to hold ourselves against it. This is why I believe that we need to change what we follow. This is why I believe that our role model should be that one of a spiritual one, not a physical one. Because if it's physical, we can be changed. It can be corrupted, and it's not perfect. Even in Philippians chapter 3, verse 17, it states that from Paul, it says that we are to follow his example as an apostle. So we have an example to follow, which means Christ. I believe that we need to do our best to follow the life of Christ so that we can strive for a personal relationship for the Father. Following the example of Christ will lead us to this destination. If we make our lives to Christ and we become role models for others around us. See, when we follow Christ, others will start to take notice. We need to be examples for our community to show unity and fellowship for others. We need to make an example for the younger generation so that they can determine for themselves that all this hate, all the greed, all the corruption, and all this division that we have in our country is starting to become ludicrous. We need to start by working at our homes, first by the parents showing their dedication and determination for their belief in Christ. I believe that the parents should be the leaders of the household. But what does it mean to be a Christian leader in a household? It means that in the household, Christ comes first. His commandments, his teachings, and his life lessons are truth and law, and they should be followed to the letter. These leaders need to work together and have good communication with each other, or will be ultimately doomed to fail. This is so that the children of the next generation will learn from our example on what it means to be a good leader or spouse in the family. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. That means that on our path, our dedication to Christ should be that in the same dedication to our spouse. This shows that the children, that even though we are serving the Lord wholeheartedly, we should serve our significant other as such. In today's society, we are seeing a lack of that. As this is due to the divorces or parents leaving each other due to complications. Granted, we all know that every relationship is not perfect. It's not going to be. And it will never be. Showing that even in hardships, parents can work together and overcome any obstacle as long as they're focusing on Christ and each other. If this wasn't the case, what are we showing the next generation? That it's okay for someone to get up and leave the relationship without trying it? Or just give up on the relationship because they believe it's not worth it? This isn't right. There are even some cases where the marriage or relationship has split up because they chose to have a kid, showing the kid that they weren't needed or unwanted, causing them to go into depression, or causing others to show deviant behavior. It's starting to get even worse. The fact that in our country, we are the second leading nation out of the first world countries to have the most incarcerated per capita. Allow me to put this into perspective. During a study in 2013, our incarceration rate was 693 out of 100,000 people. The first leading country would be Seychelles, probably butchering that pronunciation because it's an African country. They have 799 per capita. Their count is only based off of the Somalian pirates that they receive weekly due to their arrests that were being made. I bet you're now thinking, well, that's out of 100,000, which isn't too bad. But that's only the adult count per year. The juvenile count was bad during the year 2013. They had a count of 54,148 young teens between the ages of 10 and 16. But that was only a decrease from the previous years. The highest they have ever recorded from the Justice Department was made in 1999 with 107,493 children locked up, showing us as a society that a role model was needed in their lives so that crime could be avoided. Some of the incarcerations that were made is due to the absence of their role model, like a father figure or a mother figure that we've been seeing today, or even to the point where our own community has made them in who they are today. Look at those who are sitting in juvenile hall now. The fact that we actually have a juvenile hall shows that the home that we live, eat, and sleep in the family that loves and cares for us so deeply can change and determine us as a person that we are today. Study has shown that family, the intermediate family that you live with, can impact a person so greatly, it can determine the rest of their lives by how they raised, how they were treated, the life lessons that they were taught, and how much discipline they were needed in. And on top of it, most of them were also determined by how heavily impacted their marriage was by the parents. I believe that marriage should be a sanctity that shows union of flesh coming together for to love each other for the church. We must love each other before we can show our kids what it means to love. We must show our love to Christ, show the same dedication to Christ as he showed the same dedication to the church. We need to take part of that example. We need to follow that example so that we can have grace, we can have the benefits that we desire because we've been put through the challenges. We've stuck together. We've made it out of diversity. We've made it out of our hardships in our life so that we can work towards the benefits that Christ rewards us in. This is why I believe also that our significant others should be shown the same love that Christ did for the church, showing us that Christ's role on this earth was one of great importance and should be followed so that we stay on this path during our Christian walk. This is why I believe that our roles as Christians today should be that we should be having a spiritual walk so we can stand against the division that we have in our country, so that we can show our community that we can stay together out of fellowship and unity, so that we can show the next generation what it means to be true Christians, so that we can have that life that we all want, so that we can live with Christ in the afterlife, so that we may never see death. That's why I believe that we should have our spiritual models.